We all know it's been happening. We all knew it was kind of going to happen, but we've got the confirmation in today that Martin Zubimendi is joining Arsenal. We've got the here we go from Fabrizio Romano. And you know what? One of my favourite midfielders, yet again, going to Arsenal. A couple of years ago, I wanted Manchester United to get Declan Rice when Ollie was still there, before Arsenal were even linked to Declan Rice. He goes to Arsenal. I wanted Man United to sign Zubimendi 2 years ago. He goes to Arsenal. And a Rice Zubimendi pivot, guys, is an absolute joke. That is an unbelievable pivot. That is one of the best pivots in world football. But I don't know if it complements Odegaard. Zubimendi and Rice together. Zubimendi brings the best out of Rice. That's a joke of a pivot. It's unreal. But does it complement Odegaard? But if Arsenal sign a creative 10, they get the striker, they get the winger in. Like, Arsenal are going to be in a very good position next year. So I'm going to talk about the Zubimendi news. I'm going to talk about the Gyökeres news. I'm going to talk about a couple of other bits of bobs in regards to Arsenal news. But I'm going to give you a bit of an analysis on Zubimendi. He's a player that I've done a little bit of analysis on in the past, talking about the pivot, tell you a little about his strengths, about his weaknesses. So we're going to talk about Zubimendi, why it's a good deal for Arsenal, and my initial thoughts. And we will get into other Arsenal transfer stories. But I have to say, I'm jealous. I think it's a good deal. It's not a striker, but I think they'll go and sign a striker next. They need to go and look at their attack. But it's a fantastic deal. So feel free to hit that like button if you do enjoy today's video. Feel free to subscribe down if you're new. I cover all the big six Premier League clubs over on this channel, but because I have a Man United channel, I bring Newcastle onto this channel instead. Anyway, I said this. Zubimendi Rice is an elite pivot. Hard to find a better duo. It is hard. Two players I'd have loved at Manchester United. But it does work best with a natural 10, and they might still lack creativity. As Xavi Simons and Morgan Rogers coming in would complement Rice and Zubimendi a lot better than Odegaard. If Odegaard finds form, we'll have to wait and see, but it does complement it a lot better than Odegaard. That's my only worry. Although Zubimendi being defensively better than Partey will allow Rice to contribute more going forward, will allow Rice to bring creativity, but I still think Arsenal lack a game breaker. They lack someone like a Bruno Fernandes that can break a game with a pass, with a dribble, with a goal. You know what I mean? That's what Mohamed Salah's done for Liverpool. That's what Bruno does for Manchester United. I feel like they lack a game breaker. Jude Bellingham, Vinicius can do it for. Other than Saka, I feel like they lack a midfield game breaker. Overall, though, it's very good business from Arsenal. It's a brilliant Jorginho replacement, but you need a striker, you need a winger that's going to be a threat on transition because you don't make the most of your transition opportunities, and I think you're either going to need a creative left-footed passer to replace Xhaka, which Marcus Lewis-Skelly could potentially be, actually, with him moving into midfield, but I do think a natural 10, like a Morgan Rogers and the Xavi Simons, that would be, like, the best midfield three, like, up there in football. Like, that's going to be up there with, the Pedris and the De Jongs. Not Pedri, Pedri and De Jong. That's going to be up there with Vitinha, Ruiz, João Neves. If you got a proper number 10, but I'm talking like a proper number 10. Like a really good player, like a Xavi Simons, maybe Morgan Rogers. Really, a Musiala would be ridiculous, but you're not going to get him. So let's talk about Martin Zubimendi, because I think he's a fantastic player. I thought he was fantastic in the Euros when he stepped into Rodri. I think that he's been pretty good this season, despite Real Sociedad not being as good this season. I think Zubimendi's been decent. I think Marino's been a massive loss for Sociedad, by the way. But yeah, he's 26 years of age. He's coming to Arsenal in his prime, ready-made, which is what Arsenal need because they want to go from second to first. So there's no point signing youngsters for the futures. You want to sign players in your prime. And yeah, he's a fantastic player that can play centre mid, can play DM, more of a 6, but could play as an 8. Probably best in a double pivot as a 6, which is how I see him being utilised, with Rice having more license to be pushed forward. So let's talk about the deal and let's talk about my initial thoughts. So I still think you have to get a striker. You have to go for a Victor Gyökeres. You have to get a top striker. You have to. Because I know you need a midfielder because Jorginho's leaving, Partey's inconsistent. Partey was at fault for one of the PSG goals. Partey is good on the ball, off the ball, he has mistakes in him. Zubimendi will clean that up. I think he complements Rice a lot better than Thomas Partey and can give Rice more freedom, could give Odegaard more freedom. And I think the fact that Arsenal are getting this deal done early for a player, as I said, that's in their prime is very good, very smart business. But Arsenal need to focus on attack. They played well versus PSG in the first and second phase. It got to the final phase. They did not have the quality PSG had in the final phase, which is why PSG took their chances, scored and went through, and Arsenal did not. They need to, Arsenal, I think, are out of possession, maybe the best team in football. I think Arsenal in the first and second phase, unbelievably good. Arsenal in the final phase is where they lack, and that's what Arsenal need to do in the transfer window. Because Zubimendi is one of the best in the world in that position. He'll be ready for pre-season. He's coming in early. He's a fantastic partner for Rice. Jorginho's gone. That's great. But you need to make sure you go and get a striker next. I'm hearing that Arsenal are looking at left back next. You've got Lewis Skelly. You've got Calafiore. Okay, maybe you might want a left back, but you don't need a left back more than you need a striker. You don't need a left back more than you need a left winger. You don't need a left back more than you need a creative 10, because for 2 seasons in a row, you've still had the best defensive record in the Premier League by a long way. It's, this season was a bit tighter, but the season before was ridiculous. My only question, is he works well with Rice, but it's the 10. I don't know about Odegaard in this midfield three. I think it lacks a bit of creativity. Maybe even not even Odegaard, but maybe you want just a Xhaka replacement, someone that can carry the ball, someone that can progress the ball, someone maybe left-footed. Maybe Miles Lewis-Skelly can be that guy. That's my only thought process. But as I said, he's a better fit for Declan Rice. When Yeri in the future coming into that 10 role would be, excellent. I think he would suit that 10 role well. You could try Havertz there even, because he's been more of an 8 when he's played in midfield, and he would suit a 10 better. But I still think Havertz's best position is second striker potentially. So I guess with Gyökeres coming in, you could try something there. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously Marino potentially as well. Downwards on for the future. But there is good midfield options at Arsenal. Lewis Skelly, Partey. Why have I said Lewis Skelly twice? I meant to put Marino as midfield cover. The only question is, I think Odegaard lacks creativity. That is the only question. But Zubimendi's defensive ability, being stronger than Partey's defensive ability, allows Rice to push up more and bring more creativity. I also think having people like as good as Jurien Timber has been this year, and Jurien Timber, I think defensively is the best fullback. I think going forward, Ben White adds a bit of a different dynamic as well. It would obviously help improve Arsenal. Now, let's talk about Martin Zubimendi and why he's a good player. Martin Zubimendi has won possession in the midfield third more times, 322, than any other player since the start of the 22-23 season. He's very good at winning back the ball. He's very good at reading the game. And Arsenal, who have a very good off-the-ball record, defensive record, and ball recovery record, are only going to get better. He's also decent in duels. We've seen it with Marino. We've seen that Arsenal and Mikel Arteta particularly likes physical players that are good in duels. And I think one of the reasons Arsenal have been really good the last few years, I know not so much this season, but you've still been pretty good in most of your games. You've just lacked in the final third, but you've been very good in the first and second phase. It's because of the physicality. A lot of teams cannot compete with Arsenal physically. When you play PSG in the group stage, you were all over them, but you couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. Martin Zubimendi is not as physical as Marino, he's not as physical as other players, but again, it's another good duel winner. So when I go into Martin Zubimendi's strengths, we're looking at precise short and medium range passes, getting the ball with your back to goal, turning out, resisting the press, playing a few line-breaking passes, good at tackling, good at winning the ball back. In terms of ball control, he's got the technique, he's got the composure. As I said, press resistant, giving the ball in a tight space, giving the ball with his back to goal. He can turn out and he's composed under pressure. He can play a pass. It says exactly what Slot wants, because this is actually what I wrote when Liverpool were linked to Zubimendi, and I forgot to change the Arne Slot bit. So I do apologise. But there's also what Arteta wants. These are my notes from last year, but I made a couple little changes, but I forgot to change that bit. In terms of intelligence, very good football IQ. He can read the game well. He's tactically aware. His position is strong. You can see with his ball recovery stats, he's got to be able to read the game well. He's got to be defensively aware. He wins back the ball a lot. You can see with his statistics, he's that kind of player. It's very consistent, as I said, when he stepped in the Euros for Rodri. He was fantastic, very good player, very good in tight spaces. And I think what Arteta wants is a 6 that brings a bit of defensive stability, but also has what Thomas Partey has on the ball. And he has that, but better. He can drop deep, receive it off the centre-backs and build up, regulate the game, control from deeper areas, initiate attacks with a few precise passes, breaking the lines. But he's also aware. He's aware and he's intelligent. He's 26. He's in his prime. He can do the off-the-ball work. He can do the on-the-ball work. He's got the mentality. He's got the IQ. He can progress the ball. And he's very good, actually, weirdly, at finding space in the field and offering a passing option for teammates. He doesn't hide. He's going to get on the ball a lot. When you have a lot of possession, he's going to get on the ball. So I think it works really well. And I think he's a very good player. He's a player that I wanted Manchester United to sign the last 2 years. Because it's what Manchester United need, a player that Liverpool are looking at. Liverpool don't miss that often in the transfer window. Bar Darwin Núñez, Liverpool, you look at Gravenberch, you look at McAllister, and a lot of, he's a very good player. So how would Arsenal get the best out of Zubimendi? He functions best as a deep line playmaker, more of a 6. He likes to basically oversee the back four. He likes to be on the ball, playing the ball, passing the ball. You know, he would work best with an energetic midfield partner, which is Declan Rice, someone that can reclaim possession, give defensive support, but happy to push up, which is Declan Rice. That's what he will work best with. But I do think you need maybe more of a natural 10 than an 8 in the final third, because I think Rice and Zubimendi being more of a pivot and having a 10, it could work better. However, I still think Arsenal are going to need these 3 players. I think Zubimendi is an excellent deal, but you can't ignore the fact that while, yes, you need to replace Jorginho, while you've got a good player in his prime, you need these guys. Now, Rodrigo, I think, is better than Nico Williams if you could get him. Xavi Simons, Morgan Rogers, Gyökeres, I think, is probably the best option at striker. You're not going to get Isak. These 3 are the ones that will change Arsenal, because you're good in the first and second phase. It's the final third. And if Arteta has these 3 players come in with Zubimendi and he does not win a trophy next season, he's in trouble, because these are good players. I mean, Nico Williams is a bit overrated. I'm going to be honest. Nico Williams is a bit overrated. He's a bit inconsistent. He reminds me of Garnacho. But if I think of a profile, if I think of a transition threat, I think of someone that can play either side, bring creativity, he can do that. He can take on his man and put it across. And when he's good, he's good. And it's normal for a player of Nico Williams' age to be consistent. He's got good PR, but he is inconsistent. But I think he would be a good signing. So, let's talk about these other players, because other clubs in the Premier League believe that Arsenal are going to land Victor Gyökeres. I'd like him to come to Manchester United, link up with Amarin. But even Man United sources have said, look, if Man United don't get Champions League football, it's not going to happen. Even if we do get Champions League football, we're going to have to push Arsenal. Andrea Berta apparently has pushed Arsenal to go more for Gyökeres. I think you were originally looking more at Sesko. And this is come from Sami Mokbel of the BBC, who's a pretty reliable source. I've said United have made progress on the deal for Sesko. I meant Arsenal had previously made progress on the deal for Sesko. My bad. Both strikers have release clauses. Gyökeres is currently seen as probably the more economical option, but actually I think he won't be that much cheaper than Sesko with recent prices as well. David Ornstein did say Nico Williams key target, Gordon admired, Rodrigo link's not confirmed. He's definitely looking at wingers, someone that's a threat in transition. He said that Arsenal want to add a wide attacker. A move likely depends on potentially someone leading. If I'm Arsenal, hear me out. If you can get 50 million for Martinelli, sell him. Sell him and bring in someone that is more suited to Arteta's system, because while Martinelli showed loads 2 seasons ago, I think you could do better. I think he could be a top player, but I think you can do better. I think he could do step better. Now the priority is striker, but it looks like you're going to go for Gyökeres. It looks like you're going to go for a winger. Miguel Delaney also linked Arsenal with a few names, saying they want to match Saka's output on the opposite wing. Nico Williams is the ideal option, but the high wages might put them off. Semenyo is an option they like, and Mbeumo is fantastic, but he prefers the right, is also on Arsenal's radar. Arsenal fans, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.